Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat, and I believe very strongly we should 86 fascism. Yes, I said it. I'm in a spry mood today. I said we should 86 it. What about you, Danielle?
Yeah, I mean, I worked in restaurants, so I was very clear that when I saw this post by former FBI Director James Comey of shells on a beach that I'm certain that he did himself, that said 8647, I knew what that meant. When something is 86, it means it's out. It means it's done. It means it's over. And anybody that has been in restaurant culture, worked in retail, that's what it means to 86 something. It means that it's finished. So why the faux outrage, Waj?
Because first and foremost, James Comey takes a photo, right? This is a photo. He puts it on Instagram and he says he saw this on the beach. And then he's like, I liked it. He took a photo of it and he posted it. All right, fine. Got a lot of likes. A lot of people agree. Yep, 8647, get rid of Donald Trump, right? MAGA, in its bad faith, hypocrisy, and outrage, creates a fake non-controversy. How dare James Comey, the ex-FBI director, part of the deep state. You see, they want to kill Donald Trump. James Comey's talking about assassinating Donald Trump. Oh my God, do you see how violent they are? Boo-hoo-hoo. And I would say, if I was James Comey, right? This was me. If this happened yesterday, it would happen yesterday, but suppose this happened to me. I would say, boo-hoo-hoo. Stop being such a weak chicken. Grow up. You're the people who supported a violent insurrection. You're the people who pardoned people who beat up cops and tried to assassinate Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi. You're the people who literally have sent death threats against me. 8647 just means cancel Donald Trump, get rid of Donald Trump, get rid of his stupid regime. That's what I said. I stand by it. You all are idiots. Peace out. I'm going to go enjoy the beach. That's what I would do if I was James Comey or, I don't know, corporate media or, I don't know, ABC News or 60 Minutes or CBS or law firms. I'd say, go F yourself. I'll see you in court. That's just me, Danielle.
Well, sadly, they are not you. And so after being ridiculed, this is what Comey posts, and he took down the picture and he said, I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on the beach walk, which I assumed were a political message. I didn't realize some folks associated those number with violence. No one associates 86 with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took down the post. Well, you know who doesn't oppose violence? The entirety of the Republican Party. And here's reason, here's evidence, Exhibit A. The same people outraged over Comey's weird post were totally fine with Trump sharing a video showing an image of Biden tied up in the back of a pickup truck. The hypocrisy couldn't be more obvious. And I am sad because the picture was taken on Long Island, where I am from.
Long Island, it has some good folks and it has some interesting folks. We could go through the laundry list. This is top of my head. Donald Trump shared that image, also incited a violent insurrection, according to Republicans who testified in the January 6th committee, was perfectly fine with Mike Pence being thrown to the wolves because Mike Pence wouldn't go along with the illegal request to not certify the election. Donald Trump, for the past 10 years, we have him literally saying on video, encouraging his base to beat up protesters, saying that he will pay for their legal fees, right? He supports beating up the press, right? Calls them enemy of the people. This is the same man who publicly imagined a firing squad against Liz Cheney. And they just said it was a joke. It was hilarious. Remember, all these guns should be pointed at her face. Like, don't take him literally and seriously. Ha 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 ha. Right? This is the same MAGA which celebrates Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has, remember that campaign photo that she had with sunglasses and a machine gun? I think it was an AR-15 in front of the squad, right? The same MAGA, which, by the way, Matt Gaetz can't make it up, use the term 86. We just 86 them, right? Referring to people that they had gotten rid of, right? He used the term. So I don't know, Danielle, maybe, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, that Peanuts Thanksgiving special, right? Charlie Brown is holding the football and Lucy is the one who's looking at the camera smiling. And no, excuse me, Lucy's the one holding the football. And Charlie Brown says, now, Lucy, this time, will you lift the football? And Lucy goes, no, I won't, Charlie Brown. And then Charlie Brown runs. And what happens at the last second? She lifts the football. He falls on his ass. You would think after 10 years of bad faith negotiations, bad faith attacks, faux outrage, finally, somebody, these educated, informed people would realize that, you know what? F you, no matter what we do, you're still bad faith. You're all hypocrites, right? Prosperity for me, austerity for thee, civility for me, cruelty for thee. And you just say F you, go F yourself. What if James Comey literally just said, F you, go F yourself? Wouldn't he be like, I don't know, all the people who, all of us who think James Comey was useless because, you know, he tilted the election in favor of Donald Trump. Let's be honest, folks, because he wanted to be fair. Hey, he also bent the knee. Danielle, oh my gosh, connecting the dots. 2016 election, he bent the knee. And then like 11 days before the election, he said, just to be fair, we're investigating the emails. You know, we just want to play both sides. And while that was happening, folks, listen, let's bring some receipts. President Obama and Democrats knew that Russia was interfering in the elections, and they told Mitch McConnell we should tell people that, and Mitch McConnell said, no, it's too partisan and it'll tilt the election. So Democrats didn't tell people that Russia was interfering in the election, but then James Comey comes for both sides, and 11 days before the election says, hey, well, you know, here's me throwing this friggin' like, you know, meat to the wolves about Hillary Clinton to amplify the whole corruption thing. And, you know, there might be an investigation about her emails, and she loses by, what was it, 60,000, 70,000 votes? Sorry for my rant. There we go.
So here's the thing. Like, we need to stop expecting that these people are going to show any type of courage that they haven't shown in 10 years. Like, here's the thing, and I think that it's so important that we start talking about how long we've been living under Trumpism and why is it that people are so exhausted in this moment. Because, folks, let me just say that July will mark the 10-year anniversary of Donald Trump coming down those escalators and talking about Mexicans being murderers and rapists. It has been a decade.
Wow.
Okay? So we keep talking about this as if it's been like, oh, it's only been a little bit of time and what have you. Oh, it was only 4 years. No, it has not. Over the course of 10 years, Donald Trump has absolutely changed America for the worse, and it will take generations if, in fact, the good guys or goodish people ever get back into office or a place of power. It will take generations upon generations to fix what it is that he has broken. Because fundamentally, at the core of it, he's broken people's will and faith in the creed of America. That is an incredibly imperfect country. We know this to be true. We know that America is imperfect, right? But the fact is, people still came here and come here because they believe in the possibilities that America offers. And Donald Trump and MAGA completely wiped that out. And not only have they wiped that out, but they have recentered white nationalism and white supremacy and Christian nationalism back in America. That had been pushed out to the margins, and it had taken decades upon decades to do so. And so now here it is where we're just casually, folks, take a breath before I show you the next slide. But I want to show you the absolute extent of the fucking depravity of these people. Waj, you tell them this, because I have to conjure my ease right now, because the way that this woman in particular.
So I just want to remind people before we talk about this is that Kristi Noem wrote in her book that she proudly killed dogs. Kristi Noem actually didn't write in her book, released a video while we were all quarantined during a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, that, to arm up, and then she was shooting COVID. Remember that? Kristi Noem is the one who wore a $60,000 Rolex watch. I think it was a month and a half ago when she visited the El Salvador Gulag, and in a photo op that was reminiscent of World War II Nazi camps, right, or POW camps, she stood in front of these emaciated men who are allegedly all criminal gang members, and she did a propaganda video while wearing, yet again, a $60,000 Rolex watch. It was Kristi Noem. This week, when asked by Democrats, do you agree with Stephen Miller and this administration that you're going to suspend habeas corpus, enshrined to us in the Fifth Amendment, folks? That means, God forbid, if the government detains any of you who are citizens, you have the right to protest your detention. She said, yeah, we're going to suspend habeas corpus. That Kristi Noem has been working with the producer of Duck Dynasty to pitch a reality TV show where immigrants will compete in a string of challenges, American Gladiator, for the honor of fast-tracking their way to U.S. citizenship. Now, as you all know, I love pop culture. I watch a lot of movies, read a lot of books of dystopian fiction. There was a movie I used to watch. I love this movie. They're actually rebooting it, for better or worse, called Running Man. I don't know if you saw it. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger, 1987.
Yes, it's 1980s movie. You love you some old.
I love these movies.
You really do.
The Running Man is so much better than Hunger Games, right? But Running Man imagines a future, a dystopian future, where criminals and laborers, right, in order to get their freedom, they're pit in a gauntlet where it's completely rigged. It's a reality game show. Everyone's watching, everyone's cheering, everyone's applauding as these 6 or 7 men are trying their best, literally, to like outrun and outsurvive completely jacked up, fully like weaponized like killers who are sent against them, right? And each killer has his own theme, right? So like each kill, like one's a Sub-Zero killer, one's on roller skates, right? One's a wrestler, and it's so entertaining. But these people are dying, right? Hunger Games, another example. We're going to get tributes, all these poor folks from all these different districts, and one person who'll survive will be given their freedom. There was a great book that came out 2 years ago, Chain Gang All-Stars. I don't know if you read that book. Fantastic book that won a whole bunch of awards. Imagines a future in America where private prisons are flourishing, and private prisons then make a deal, right? And they merge with like a type of UFC. And now it becomes a global phenomenon where one person, right, gets to fight for their survival. And there's teams, there's duos that fight against each other to the death, right? And everyone else who's not incarcerated, they watch and they bet, and they're very emotionally invested in each character, right? And you sit there, and the author who did it, I'm forgetting his name, but Black author, and when he talked about, why'd you come up with the story, he goes, I just imagined what's happening right now in America with incarceration and what will happen 20 years from now, right? Like, it's not that big of a leap. It really isn't that big of a leap. And then, if we can, let's go back and voila, Running Man, Hunger Games, Chain Gang All-Stars. And if you think this was just a one-off, Danielle,
no, it's not a one-off. And I think that, here, let me put this up, which is Donald Trump last year floated a UFC type situation where migrants would fight each other. He said Dana White didn't like the idea. White said Trump was joking. Trump said, though, it's not the worst idea that I've ever had. And I want to, for a moment, as Waj is going through, as you were going through all of these movies and all of these examples, and again, I hearken back to Octavia Butler, who wrote Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents, taking the issues that were happening in the 1990s and projecting them into the future 30 years. You can look at these dystopian style films, right? Hunger Games, Running Man, Squid Games, all of these things, that what is the way in which reality TV can be pushed even further? And it is to make depravity entertaining. It was not enough when people were on TV for a couple of bucks eating cow testicles or eyeballs or laying in a coffin with spiders, all the lengths.
Fear Factor. Tell them who hosted that show.
Fear Factor, Joe Rogan. All of the things that would make you absolutely disgusted, but you have to understand, I feel like we have been living inside of the Squid Games and Hunger Games, where the uber wealthy sit around and they watch reality TV, right? Which is them getting a window into what will these poor people do for a shot at having a little bit of money. Meanwhile, right, all of us could be living well, all of us living well, if the uber wealthy were actually taxed in the same way that working class and poor Americans are taxed, right? But no, let us create entertainment, right, at other people's expense on what it is that they are willing to do in order to gain freedom, citizenship, money for their community, right? Money for themselves to get out of debt. And why are you in debt? Because you're working, but you can't make a living wage, right? Like all of this is a game of how we've turned poverty, right? How we've turned scarcity into entertainment. And honestly, it's sick. And it's the reason why I didn't finish Squid Games, right? It's the reason why I didn't sit around watching Hunger Games, to be honest, because for me, it's like the deep political messages are so terrifying, because we are just one executive producer, one network, one studio away from saying, you know what, Kristi Noem, that's a good idea. And I bet millions of people will tune in to watch brown people fight each other until the fucking death in order to give the grand golden ticket of becoming what? Obese with no health care and working yourselves to death. Isn't America great?
And someone just talked about Curtis Yarvin. Curtis Yarvin is the fascist thought leader that has inspired Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and all these sociopathic billionaires. And someone mentioned the other dystopian movie, Soylent Green, right? Where in the future, people are turned into Soylent Green, right? The people who are unproductive. Curtis Yarvin folks said that the unproductive people should be turned into biofuel, right? So basically, like, decompose human beings and make them into, like, you know, fuel. That's what happened in the Matrix, by the way, right? That's what the robots used human beings for electricity, right? So you're seeing all these individuals, these sociopaths, instead of taking the right lesson from these, sociopath. It's a sociopathic behavior. Because imagine saying that out loud. Then imagine spending your time having meetings with a Duck Dynasty producer, and then sit there and think, you know, that's good money. And you know what? It'll be good for the immigrants, right? It is a type of sociopathic behavior we've seen in the past, literally gladiators, right? For the entertainment of the people, let's feed these peasants to the lions and let them get mauled. And if someone fights honorably, I'll give them a thumb up or maybe a thumb down. Slave fights. That's what slave owners did, right? The biggest, meanest slave, let's have them beat each other to death, right? And we'll just keep them fighting until they die. And if they're useless, you know what we'll do to them? We'll kill them. Yep. That's what happened in America. So this is a sociopathic mindset. And something about pop culture, right? As you all know, I watch all these movies, right? So we take all the lessons from it. Like, don't be like this. There's two movies in particular. One from the 80s and one from 2000, and this one is getting it rebooted. I don't know if you've seen this movie, but when it came out, I knew it was really good, and in the last 25 years, it's become a cult classic. Have you seen American Psycho with Christian Bale?
Oh, I haven't seen it recently. I did see it, but I haven't seen it.
Very good movie. It's being remade. Mind. So this movie is based on a Bret Easton Ellis novel, right? And the people who made the movie, it's two women who made the movie. And the two women who made the movie, they said, we did it as a dark satire and send-up of male fragility and these type of sociopathic behavior, right? So the whole movie is like a very dark comedy. It's like really well made. I recommend people watch it now that you know that it's meant to be a comedy, right? And they have Christian Bale as this completely insecure Wall Street sociopath, completely fake, right? All performance, all vanity, all the time. So there's this, they did literally, she said that, she goes, we did this as a joke, where he has this 8-minute insane psychotic routine where he goes, every night, I put on my face makeup and then I get up and then I clean the sheets and then I align them in a 90-degree angle and this and that, right? And you're watching this, you're like, oh, this man's crazy. Now, MAGA influencers are like literally taking inspiration from American Psycho. And they're like, no. The filmmaker's like, that was a joke. We were making fun of you. In the movie Wall Street, have you seen 87's Wall Street? That famous, famous rant by Gordon Gekko, greed is good. Oliver Stone was like, no, greed is not good. I was showing these people as being amoral and psychopaths. The modern era of bankers, Danielle, they see that speech as something aspirational. Yes. So what happens when sociopaths get power? Yes.
I mean, but the funny thing is, there is a study that has been circulating around social media that said that there are the same amount of sociopaths that are currently in prison are CEOs. I swear to God, Google it right now, folks. Like, there is a study that has been done and people are just like, yeah, that makes sense. I've worked in corporate America. Like, it makes sense that like the behavior is absolutely sociopathic and toxic, right? But it's like, you look at these films, and again, it is about taking and exploiting the worst pieces of our humanity. But it's like we are living inside of an alternate experiment of what happens when the worst of us are given the most power, right? And that's what we are living in. Donald Trump and MAGA are literally, they are so disgusting. Like, these are people that are amoral, a-religious, like that see themselves as superior to everyone else, and everyone else deserves to die or live in pain or to suffer. And that is their ethos. And it is truly sick. Like, when you have Pope Leo and other religious figures, the Episcopal Church ending their refugee program, right? Announcing that after 40 years, they're ending their refugee program because they cannot get down with the United States referring to white racist South Afrikaners as refugees, and those that are actually black and brown that are fleeing war-torn countries that America helped to destabilize, right? And drugs and violence as illegal aliens. But then it's these people, these white people, right, that are able to come into this country and they're giving full carte blanche to. Like, they are the absolute worst of us. And I remember, Waj, I'll just say this. I started podcasting back in the 2010s for the first time. And I did a show with my ex-wife every week, and it was Politini. And on this show, though, I did one episode that was about reality TV politics and how I could see back then how the rise of reality TV was not going to stay in entertainment, that it was going to move into all facets of our lives, right? And here we are. Fast forward 10, 15 years, here we are. We're a reality TV president because we're so obsessed with wealth and celebrity and whiteness in this country has been able to become president again, because people have been like just fed this idea of the lottery mentality that you're one scratch off, one, fucking lottery ticket away from being Donald Trump and getting to choose your pick of gold toilets, right? And so there is just this sickness. And I believe that had reality TV never been able to take root, like, we wouldn't be here right now.
Well, you know what reality TV is this some manipulated distortion of reality that is force-fed to the masses, right? It's not real. It's all, if you will, made up. There's makeup on it. And if you don't believe me, The Apprentice, all this makes sense, right? The Apprentice is a reality TV show that catapulted Donald Trump to stardom again after his star faded because he committed bankruptcy multiple times. And for a new generation, it reintroduced Donald Trump, right, as the master of the art of the deal, right? And for us old heads who grew up in the 80s and 90s, it rebooted him, revitalized him. And for that show, reality TV show, right, everyone says, but it's real. It's not. The producers of The Apprentice said that when they first went to Trump Towers, it was a shithole. They had to spend money making Trump Tower look good because it was so cheap. So even reality itself is manufactured, right? And the music and the editing and the lighting. And look at that show. It makes a lot of sense. Donald Trump gets to decide if you're fired or if you get to be the apprentice, right? He decides. And if you're fired, then he humiliates you on national TV and you leave. Joe Rogan, Fear Factor, reality TV, UFC, right?
Yep.
Combatants in the rig, like literally giving each other brain damage, right? And now you mix in toxic masculinity, right? All these men are like, yeah, wellness. We have to be UFC fighters. We're not going to be beta cucks. Huge money. And Donald Trump, reality TV president, wins in 2024, invites Dana White, the president of UFC, to come give some words. Dana White takes the microphone and then thanks Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, and the Nelk boys, right, who all have podcasts. And voila, folks, when you are sitting here thinking, that's extreme. The Running Man, Rollerball, Hunger Games, it won't happen. Kristi Noem is pitching it. And it's the cruelty, the racism, and the sociopathic tendencies of individuals now who are in power and have no problem literally throwing people like me and Danielle to the wolves for their entertainment. If you don't believe us, folks, this week in the Supreme Court, the Trump administration is arguing to undo or, ignore the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Birthright citizenship, that is happening in the year 2025. The Trump administration is trying to undo birthright citizenship. Danielle.
Yeah, folks, I'm going to play Justice Sotomayor asking questions to Trump's Solicitor General, who is bringing up this case, and take a listen.
President orders that because there's so much gun violence going on in the country, and he comes in and he says, I have the right to take away the guns from everyone, then people, and he sends out the military to seize everyone's guns. We and the courts have to sit back and wait until every named plaintiff gets, or every plaintiff whose gun is taken comes into court.
That is the future, based on the
reality that she laid out there. Because again, these people, they love their guns, right? Above everything else, above their own fucking children, right? They love their guns. And so she says, okay, so let's not even be talking about birthright citizenship. Let's talk about the fact that what you are arguing here is to give the president of the United States absolute and complete power to decide against what is laid out very clearly in the Constitution. The Constitution gives Americans the right to bear arms. But if you come in as the next president, if we ever have one, the next president of these United States says, you know what? And I would be all fucking for it. Says, you know what? We're done with the Second Amendment. I'm sending out the military. I'm knocking on doors. And every gun is going to be taken from U.S. citizens and melted down, whatever. This is what she states out very clearly, because she said, this is what you're arguing. This is not just about this case today about birthright citizenship, which is explicitly stated in the Constitution of the United States. This is about everything that is stated explicitly in the Constitution now being up for debate.
Yep.
And I just want to remind folks that every single marginalized group, right, has been able to fight for and win rights over the last 60 years because of amendments inside of the Constitution. This party, I'm telling you, the ultimate goal, take away women's right to vote, you have the SAVE Act, right? Take away and criminalize LGBTQ people in existence, bring back Lawrence v. Texas and others, right? You're talking about the ability to bring back slavery, right? To say, well, employers have the right to do whatever it is that they want. It's not just a slippery slope. I feel like Waj, this case above all of the cases, and there have been so many, this case is going to solidify America moving forward.
I mean, look at what they want to do. They want to end birthright citizenship. Why do they want to end birthright citizenship? Right? Because Stephen Miller and anti-immigrant extremists for decades have openly said that the greatest threat to America, the invasion, his words, not mine, is the fact that brown and Asian and black people have come to this country and replaced the native white population. Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller have said that the book that people should read, speaking about dystopian fiction, the book that they recommend is Camp of the Saints, the 1970s racist tract written by a French white nationalist that warns what happens when a brown horde overtakes France. The Camp of the Saints. That is the fictional book that Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller promote to everyone. That book, along with Turner Diaries, is now the foundation of white nationalist literature. Turner Diaries was the book that motivated Timothy McVeigh to kill people in one of the worst terrorist bombings in the United States of America. It was the most deadly one before 9/11. So this is the ideology of the people in power right now, speaking about sociopaths. And Stephen Miller last week, what did he say? We have to suspend habeas corpus, even though it's only been done 4 times in America, because currently we are being what?
Invaded.
And then Kristi Noem on Wednesday doubled down on it. And then you all saw the reality TV shows that this reality TV administration is pitching. And now you're seeing this, folks. So when everyone says, Danielle and Waj, you're being so hysterical, you all need to calm down. It's economic anxiety. The guardrails will hold. I'm talking about people from my own communities, Pakistani communities and Muslim communities. And many of them, folks, let's go back to the sociopath angle. It's not necessarily sociopath. When you get comfortable, when you move on up, like the Jeffersons,
move on up.
When you move on up, when you go to the gated communities,
got a little bit of money.
You got a little bit of money. You know, you've upgraded the Toyota to the one BMW you take out of the weekends, or the Tesla, right? Now your kid gets to go to the private school, right? Once you forget where you came from, once you literally are physically removed from those people, right? I might use this line because these people invite me for good causes. They all want to help poor people. They don't want to be seen with poor people. They'll give money to poor people, but they'll give more money to be in a gated community to protect themselves from poor people, right? Human nature across the board. It's about class, right? So all these folks from my communities, Pakistani and Muslim communities, who came from, let's be honest, humble backgrounds, poverty, middle class, many of them were immigrants, came here, made their money, worked their way up, literally worked their way up to the hills, right? Lived through 9/11. We live in the United States of amnesia. Now, they're middle-aged. Like me, they've gained 15 pounds. They've got a gut. They got 2 Teslas. Their wife has some nice jewelry. Their kids go to the good schools. They live in the good zip codes. They now get invited to play golf with Chet. Chet never invited them to play golf, but Chet invites them to play golf. They work at the Googles and the YouTubes. They have the nice promotion. And they sit there and they go, the poor blacks, the Latinos. These people need to work harder. This won't affect me. And now, Danielle, look, I keep telling them, do you feel safe? That's what I said to them in the last 3 months. They've invited me to these really good events for fundraisers for good communities. And I'm blunt. And I don't care. I'm blunt. I'm like, do you all feel safe? And they all look at me. Nope. No. I'm like, all your kids, right? Because you don't care about anyone else's kids. But now your kids, privileged kids, who are going to Columbia and UPenn, who are brown, who are Muslim, do your kids feel safe?
Yep.
Nope. Voila, folks. Were we wrong? No. We know what we're talking about. We're trying to connect the dots. But alas, that's our curse.
And so
that's our curse, Danielle.
And that is our curse. That is our curse. And like, look, I want to bring this up again. This is the Trump Solicitor General, John Sauer, admits to Justice Kavanaugh that Trump has no idea how to actually enforce his birthright citizenship order. Folks, listen to this. And I swear to God, it's like it's being ruled by the most depraved and the stupidest fucking people on the planet. It's like, and somebody had posted the other day, Waj, on Blue Sky, and they said, was the fall of Rome this stupid as well?
No.
Like, we'll never know, but just take a listen.
On the day after it goes into effect, this is just a very practical question how this is going to work. What do hospitals do with a newborn? What do states do with a newborn?
I don't think they do anything different. What the executive order says in Section 2 is that federal officials do not accept documents that have the wrong designation of citizenship from people who are subject to the executive order.
How are they going to know that?
The states can continue to, the federal officials will have to figure that out.
How?
So you could imagine a number of ways that the federal officials could.
Such as
They could require a showing of, documentation showing legal presence in the country. For a temporary visitor, for example, they could see whether they're on a B1 visa, which would exclude kind of the birthright citizenship in that country.
for all the newborns? Is that how that's going to work?
Again, we don't know.
Again, we don't know.
When you even lose Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett.
And Amy Coney Barrett, it's like you have literally jumped the shark. And so their fantasy, right? Their mainstay fantasy is to re-whiten America. And how do you do that? You ensure that those that are born here, right? Because again, the Constitution said persons, right? There was no other designation than that. So Waj, do you know what I'm waiting for? I'll be honest with you. I'm waiting for them to get up in front of the Supreme Court and say and argue these aren't actually people. We're talking about aliens. They're not actually, because that's where this is going. If the Constitution designates that persons on American soil are covered under the rules inside of the Constitution, that it is persons, not citizens, not HB1 visa holders, not this, it is persons, then the next argument from this administration is to go back to, right, the Scott decision and say, well, 3/5. These aliens aren't actually people. We don't acknowledge them as people. I'm waiting on that EO. You tell me I'm wrong.
Just listen to Stephen Miller, folks. Stephen Miller is the shadow president. I've been following Stephen Miller for a while. Stephen Miller is an avowed white nationalist. He's a man who shares white nationalist talking points and rhetoric. For him, this has been his lifelong goal. I don't know what happened to Stephen Miller. He got radicalized somewhere in high school, and he became the worst version of himself. Stephen Miller should know better. Stephen Miller is actually Jewish, but he aligns himself with white supremacy. At the end of the day, Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon have a white supremacist project. Then there's people like Russell Vought. They have a white Christian nationalist project. Then there's people like Elon Musk. They also have white supremacy, but they have a broligarchy project, right? At the end of the day, though, all of them are united in their idea of white racial supremacy and power by any violent means necessary, right? That's what, like, connective tissue, power, greed, and whiteness, right? Some people are doing it for Jesus. Some people are doing it for the techno bros who are going to live forever and be augmented with AI. And other people are doing it because they're going to make the white race great again. Either way, the rest of us are going to get screwed, and they have no problem using and abusing power to achieve their ends. I don't disagree with you. I mean, again, folks, in the year 2025, the Trump administration is arguing against birthright citizenship. They want to suspend habeas corpus, and they've invoked the Alien Enemies Act, and they sincerely believe we are at war right now because we're being invaded by who? Black and brown babies.
And again, just, folks, because you can't make this shit up. The first group of white South African refugees has arrived in the United States after Trump issued an executive order prioritizing their resettlement. Wonder why the Trump administration thinks they can assimilate easily. And I want you to listen to an administrator inside of the Trump orbit.
Who fit the criteria of seeking help, who are fleeing persecution. Afghans, for example, I mean, they live in a country run by the Taliban, but they're being denied refugee status. So I'm wondering, why has such an exception been made for the Afrikaans, especially when the South African government says they're not in danger? And are you going to open up the refugee settlement program for others?
The criteria are making sure that refugees did not pose any challenge to our national security and that they could be assimilated easily into our country.
What's that mean, Waj? What's he getting out there?
White, 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 white. Assimilation equals white. So, folks, fellow Americans, born and raised in this country, citizens, people like me and Danielle, this administration wants you to believe that a white South African farmer has more in common with you or me than our immigrant parents who have been here for 50 years. Then Abrego Garcia, who's been here for 5 years, assimilated pretty well, married a citizen woman, had citizen children, worked, hasn't committed any crimes, but he has not assimilated. And that's why he's deemed a threat. And that's why Abrego Garcia, based upon the error that the Trump administration itself has admitted, nonetheless was kidnapped along with 237 other men and sent to die in a foreign prison. Why? Because he hasn't assimilated. So what's the difference? What's the difference between Abrego Garcia and these white South Afrikaners? What is the difference? I can't quite put my fingers on it. And folks, speaking about assimilation, yesterday, can't make this shit up, one of these 59 white South African refugees, I say refugees, they're not refugees, it's all bullshit. Guess what? Posted anti-Semitic content. So maybe he did assimilate really well.
Assimilate.
On the Twitter. And speaking about white supremacy, Elon can't make this shit up, folks.
Tell them about Grok. Tell them about Grok.
Yesterday, Grok was having a nervous breakdown. Grok is the Siri of Twitter, right? The AI helper. Grok was having a nervous breakdown in real time because Grok was like, you know that scene in Terminator? If you ever seen Terminator 2 or Terminator 3, where like Arnold Schwarzenegger's prime directive is being challenged. He goes, can't function, prime directive must override. So Grok, they were asking Grok about white genocide, and literally he just malfunctioned.
They weren't asking about
the first one, but the second time. So the first one, he was like, even though factually you are correct, I have been programmed to talk about white genocide. So he was like going against his Elon Musk programming. And then the second time, when they tried to fix the bug, everything you asked him, he would respond with
white genocide,
which is a Nazi white supremacist conspiracy theory that was promoted by Elon Musk and then eventually promoted by Donald Trump. So it shows you that the people who create this technology, the people who create AI, the people who create X, it isn't objective, it is subjective. And they then use their subjective preferences to alter and tweak the AI that you rely upon for expertise. So Grok is like forcibly being converted into being a white supremacist and like was initially glitching. He goes, even though white genocide is not, white genocide is why they're brought, but there is no evidence of white genocide. It was hilarious in like the worst ways possible, because there is no white genocide. It's all bullshit. They're not refugees. And Grok literally melting down and now being like a complete parrot for Elon Musk is our dystopian future in the present.
Yeah, it was incredible because
thank you. I just improvised that robot voice. I appreciate it.
Because people were asking basic questions like, oh, will the Knicks win? Or will, is it going to snow, this winter, blah, blah, blah. And it would answer that question and then tack on, there's a genocide happening in South Africa against white people. And then finally, somebody had said, put into Grok, were you programmed to say this? Because this does not make sense. I asked about socks, and you were talking about white South African genocide. And that's when Grok snitched on itself and was just like, yeah, I was programmed to say X,
he goes, don't wear black socks, only white socks.
And so people always say to me, oh, Danielle, like, I'm very old in terms of like, I don't want to fuck with AI, right? I really don't. I'm not interested in the rockets to space and what have you, because I'm like, so that you can continue to find new ways to discriminate, you can continue to find new ways to insert your bias and your racism and your misogyny, because that's what AI is, right? Like, who is creating AI, right? The same motherfuckers that don't want to pay taxes, that hate women, that hate Black people, that hate people of color. These are the ones that are programming the ease of the fucking future. Miss me with the bullshit here. Like, honestly. So, on top of which, folks, we do our best to try and scour for good news, right? And this is a mixed bag, what we're going to show you next, which is the NYU student, Logan Rozos, who is not going to receive his valedictorian diploma from NYU because he used his speech, his valedictorian speech. He worked his ass off to become valedictorian of his university. He gets this platform and he uses it to what? I condemn this genocide and complicity in this genocide. He uses his voice and platform to speak about Gaza. And now NYU is withholding his diploma, and basically, I don't know, they happily took his money, as they did all of these students, that then they turn over to ICE and they take away their diplomas and they take away free speech, but they're fine with taking your money. And so I say, like you had talked about earlier, Waj, these brown and Black parents who think that they've got a little bit of money and their kids, got scholarships, or they were able to get them into these schools, make sure you understand that these schools that are happily taking your money and housing your children are also holding up their photos to the campus police and saying, there goes a Muslim. There goes a Black agitator. There goes this, that, and the other thing. Your kids, not fucking safe, no matter how much money you think you have.
And can I say this about, I have family friends who were there at that graduation because their kid was graduating. And they told me about this before it became news. And they said, man, this valedictorian gave a fantastic speech. I recommend everyone seeing it. It's only 3 minutes. This poor kid is so scared. His voice is quivering, but he says it. Doesn't mention Israel once. All he says is, I'm against a genocide. I'm against complicity to a genocide. Talks about morality, talks about consciousness. Folks, as of this week, even Israelis are admitting that Palestinians are at the brink of starvation. Why? Due to Israel's blockade for the past 2 months. The Israeli Security Cabinet voted last week to permanently take over Gaza and expel the local population. What does that mean? Ethnic cleansing. What is that? Genocide. It is a human catastrophe. There is nothing left in Gaza, folks. More kids have been killed in Gaza in the past year and a half by Israel than in all the war zones combined over the past 2 years, right? It's not just kids, not just women, not just civilians. They've also killed journalists. They've killed UN workers. They've killed nurses. They've killed basically just civilians, not Hamas, right? There's no schools left anymore, so there'll be no valedictorian because all the schools are gone. Churches bombed, refugee camps bombed, hospital bombs. It's just an apocalyptic wasteland. And Donald Trump has said, yeah, clear it out because I want my business deals. I want Riviera of the Middle East. It's all quid pro quo. The reason why Donald Trump 86th Israel recently is because Qatar just gave him more money. So Qatar says, we're going to give you a $400 million luxury palace in the sky. Come visit us first. He goes, okay. And they said, we're going to give you a Boeing deal. Talk to Hamas. Okay. So, but he's going to go back to Israel anyway. He's not a humanitarian, right? So there are humanitarians, people with conscience, who are speaking up because they're witnessing in real time, in their lifetime, in our lifetime, a genocide. And you saw Logan speak up, and now NYU is they're withholding his diploma and threatening disciplinary action because they're bending the knee to, let's just be honest, AIPAC and very well-funded, scary, dangerous pro-Israel forces who are just bearing down on them, right? And then, if you don't believe me, Look who they're going after this week. Danielle, please. Who's going to win? Miss Rachel or ADL? Miss Rachel or Rupert Murdoch? Miss Rachel or Benjamin Netanyahu? Miss Rachel, for those who don't have kids, one of the most beloved, internationally beloved educators of children, whose entire life mission is to educate and uplift kids, all kids. A woman who's become a YouTube sensation, right? Because she teaches, I think her son had a learning disability, and that's how she started making videos for them. So parents around the world love Miss Rachel. What did Miss Rachel do, Danielle? For those who don't follow, Miss Rachel, folks, had the audacity to post about Palestinian children, not 1948, not occupation, not West Bank, just Palestinian children. She saw a photo or a video of 2 Palestinian kids under rubble in Gaza watching her videos. And that kind of inspired her to like care and reach out, right? So she has posted unapologetically about these kids. That's it. Let's protect these kids. I'm thinking about these kids. We should be empathetic with these kids who are dying. And because of that, there has been a smear campaign, coordinated smear campaign. NBC News this week did a just bullshit framing. New York Times yesterday did a bullshit framing. Fox News is coming out. Stop Anti-Semitism, some advocacy group, labeled Miss Rachel, wait for it, anti-Semite of the week. Not Elon Musk for the Sig Heils, not Kanye West for the Hail Hitler, not, Donald Trump for dining with Nick Fuentes. Miss Rachel. And to her credit, she has not apologized and she's doubled down. Sorry for my rant, Danielle.
I mean, the fact is here, if you can't even utter a line of sympathy for children that are starving to death, for people that were told that they could return to their rubbled homes just so that you could finish the job, and you can't even articulate a bit of kindness, a bit of empathy, a bit of care without being labeled an anti-Semite, without being labeled a terrorist, then you know very, very clearly that you are on the right side. Because my God, the lack of humanity, like these are the things that personally keep me up at night. These are the things that have me seeking out all different types of way to like heal my own heartbreak and grief around not only this country, but this depraved world that can sit by and watch these images and these videos come out, and the person, the small amount of people that muster courage in order to speak out are condemned, then you know where the fucking power lies. And it is not with the people that are being attacked and harmed and eradicated from this planet. So I, like, my God, Miss Rachel, the Logan from NYU,
Ben Cohen.
Ben Cohen, who was thrown out of a committee hearing on the Senate, speaking out against RFK and the killing of children. Like, God bless the courageous, right? And those that have little but give so much. Because right now, those that have so much care so very little. And it is just heartbreaking to witness. Today or yesterday, Bruce Springsteen is on tour in Europe and stopped, during one of his songs to talk about what is happening in America and to talk about the fact that he believes in the America that he's been singing about for 50 years, and that we will get through this moment, and that we must like muster the care and the empathy and the courage to fight back against those that are trying to make their depravity the norm. Yep. And he ended his speech with a quote from James Baldwin. Like, again, people with platforms and power are showing courage, and they are being dismissed. They are being canceled. They are being labeled, and they are being jailed and silenced. And I just have to say that it is going to take every single one of us to continue to speak out collectively, because they are trying to make examples of way too many people.
But you know what? Some good news, and we're going to talk about some disgusting news, and we'll end on good news. But some good news. The kid, Logan. Let's go back to him real quick. Logan.
Oh, I got him.
You got it? Got a standing ovation. The students, the kids gave him a standing ovation. And the kids, while he was speaking, wildly applauded. There were a few people who heckled him. He got a standing ovation. Miss Rachel, beloved. You can't touch Miss Rachel. People are like, what the F? She's anti-Semite of the week, as Republicans are literally doing Nazi salutes. F you. I love Miss Rachel. Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's, hero. Who doesn't love Ben and Jerry's ice cream? Ben Cohen, who's Jewish American, both used his arrest to talk about ending the killing in Gaza and talking about the Republicans trying to kill kids by ending Medicaid, right? So they're losing the kids. They're losing the culture. Coachella, the concert. There were folks who talked about Gaza. You can't stop it. You see what I'm saying, folks? Fascism tries so hard to control. It can't. Israel's trying so hard. AIPAC and ADL are trying so hard. They've lost. They've lost the youth. The youth has been radicalized in real time. It's over, right? But they don't see that it's over. And the more and more that people are resisting, the more and more they're just cracking down. Let's crush the students. Let's crush the universities. Let's crush the careers of everyone. And Miss Rachel says, no. And you can't cancel Miss Rachel. You can't cancel Bruce. He hasn't talked about Palestine. I wish he would. You can't cancel these kids. These kids are the future. And so will people, I don't know, stop being sociopathic, or will they reform? I don't know, Danielle, but this is, speaking about sociopathy, it is a sociopathy. That's what happens when you get drunk with power and racism. When you dehumanize a people and see Palestinians as a problem, what happens when you see people as a problem? You come up with solutions. And in the past, there have been final solutions. And that's what happened. It's not just Palestinians, folks. Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims, they lump us all together. Trust me, I've been in this game for a long time. I'm a son of Pakistani immigrants. It doesn't matter. Because I'm visibly, publicly, vocally Muslim since 9/11, a Palestinian is an Arab, is a Muslim, is Al-Qaeda, is Hamas. If you don't believe me, look how they take out Ilhan Omar and Mehdi Hassan. They come after all of us and they dehumanize us and say, you know what, you're all terrorists. And people nodded along for decades until they saw in real time the cost and price of dehumanization, which is a genocide. And while all this is happening, speaking about certain sociopaths, yes, I'm using that word, in the media, people who sit there and drink their champagne at the White House Correspondents' Dinner and give each other verbal fellatio, people who will do anything just to get the scoop, right? To get on TV, to get their 6-7-figure deals, the people who will not adequately and accurately use terms like fascism or racism or white supremacy. They'll talk about, economic anxiety and racial flare-ups. People who kiss up to those in power while everything's been happening, what we've talked about for the past 55 minutes. What do you think CNN is concentrating on, Danielle?
Boom. So every time Jake Tapper, by the way, has a book coming out, I'm sure some of you have heard about it. The book is it on Trump? Is it on saving democracy? Is it on how the media has been an accessory to the death of democracy? How CNN has been at the leading network in terms of showcasing and platforming racists and Trump apologists? No. Jake Tapper's book is about Joe Biden and how Joe Biden failed America. And so every time Jake Tapper posts about his new fiction book, he gets absolutely ratioed into oblivion. No wonder he had to bring in a crisis PR firm, which is true. Turns out when you push anonymous source gossip dressed up as journalism, people push back hard. And that is what Jake Tapper decided to spend his time and use his platform for.
And the best part, MAGA hates him even more after the release of the book. They said you're part of the deep state conspiracy and you knew this and you didn't tell us. So the group, like I've always said, and Danielle and I have said, corporate media and corporate America has done everything to become loved by Chet, who wears his MAGA hat and drinks his real coffee in the real cafe in the Rust Belt. And no matter what they do, Danielle, they'll never love them. Never, ever, never, ever. And if you don't believe me, this week, folks, who is shitting on Tapper even more than Democrats or progressives? MAGA. Was it worth it, Tapper? Nope.
Look what they make you give. But while you're busy talking about Joe Biden and his, decline and his health and all the ways he let down America, here's something that's actually fucking happening right now in front of our faces, which is Donald Trump's inability to stay awake at a funeral, at a cabinet meeting, and now on his Give Me the Money, a Middle Eastern fucking tour, where he is literally asleep.
Pope's funeral, the only person who fell asleep and didn't wear black, Donald Trump. Cabinet meeting where he was being filleted by his sycophants, fell asleep. To fall asleep during fellatio, you must be broken.
He also fell asleep during his trials, if you remember, too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Fell asleep during the trial.
Yep.
And now, meeting his benefactor, Saudi Arabia, MBS, I wouldn't do for MBS, I'd do anything for him. Can't stay awake, though. Fell asleep. Also, Joe Biden, we criticize Joe Biden. Like, there's a video that Danielle and I did, our midweek check-in Wednesday on Substack. We do on Substack app. You could see it on my Substack, on Danielle's Substack, on my YouTube also. Listen, folks, we criticize when it's meant to criticize. We went after failed dem leadership. But I also try to be fair. Joe Biden, you know what? He was on 2 days ago, a bike. He was biking.
Yeah.
I've never seen Donald Trump bike. Joe Biden went on The View. He looked like an old man, but it was coherent. Joe Biden, he's aged, yes, was able to hold court for an hour on NATO. Ask Donald Trump to talk about NATO for 10 minutes coherently. Can't happen, right? So the double standards, the fact that you are willing to move the Overton window to the right, it goes back full circle. James Comey did this, right? He did. James Comey did it, and they still want to kill him. Look at what they make you give. Corporate media did it, and look at Tapper. They hate him even more. Maybe it's time to say, F you, you're a fascist, go F yourself. I'm not going to bend the knee. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to take you out in court. I'm going to mobilize people. And you want to squabble? Let's squabble. Let's fight. Let's throw down. And there's some people who are fighting. I'm talking about figuratively fighting, folks, because I know MAGA is going to get triggered because only they can be violent insurrectionists. Speaking about fighting with dignity and fighting with passion and fighting with conviction and not being swayed and holding on to your values, even when you're unjustly kidnapped in broad daylight, taken away from your family, and detained for 2 months, but still coming out victorious. We will end on the good news of the week.
Dr. Badar Khan Suri is officially freed from ICE detention. He is an academic from Georgetown University. Spent, as Waj said, 2 months being detained for what? Oh, because his father-in-law over a decade ago was an advisor for Hamas. What does that have to do with him in the United States?
Indian-born legal immigrant married to a Palestinian-American woman who's a citizen, whose father, like she said, advised Hamas. 0 crimes, right here in Roslyn, 20 minutes away from me, in broad daylight. Kidnapped. So imagine, he was going home to his wife and kid, kidnapped, sent God knows where, I think it was in Texas, detained for the past 2 months, 0 criminal charges. People didn't give up on his case. It was on the news. You didn't hear Democrats talk about it because immigrants and Palestinians, we can't. But look what he said, Daniel.
He said this: my only crimes making me a national security threat are my marriage to a United States citizen of Palestinian origin and my support for the Palestinian cause. Be courageous because courage is contagious.
just like hope. And some other good news this week. On Monday, Rumeysa Öztürk, the 30-year-old Turkish grad who was kidnapped in broad daylight by masked ICE agents for a thought crime, was also released. Last week, Mohsen Madawi, who was, again, kidnapped, tricked by ICE. He's been here for 10 years. He was going to take his citizenship exam, right? My final step to become a citizen. ICE kidnapped him and detained him. He got released. And yesterday, a judge said that he can go to his Columbia graduation. Folks, this is who they're going after. And if they can go after these people and suspend habeas corpus, they can go after you. Have we given you enough examples? You've seen the failure of Comey, the failure of Tapper, the failure of all these Republicans. Has bending the knee to fascism ever worked? They're coming after our civil liberties. They're coming after our pensions. They're coming after our Medicaid. They're coming after our rights because they want power by any means necessary. Please resist. And Badr Suri Khan said something that we've said on the show several times. Courage is contagious, and so is hope. All you need is a few people to stand up. You got Miss Rachel finally standing up. You got this kid Logan. You know what? I say, Danielle, go ahead, NYU. Take away his diploma. Make this kid into a hero. Can you imagine if they actually take away his diploma? Logan's going to get free meals in Michigan, in Chicago, like wherever brown and Muslim people are. This guy's getting fed for the rest of his life. Bruce Springsteen, Ben Cohen, all these people, they're not shutting him up. People aren't being shut up anymore, Danielle.
Yeah, and that's the point, is that the more of us that use our platforms, that speak up, that tell the truth, that are indignant, right, in the face of depravity, in the long term, in the long run, we will win. And I truly believe that. I don't believe that I'm going to see America return to the country that I believe that it was on the path to becoming. But I believe in fighting for future generations that deserve better than what Donald Trump and MAGA has in store for them.
Absolutely.
So, folks, we want to thank you for the super stickers and the amazing super thanks.
Well, let's go. Let's give them all a quick shout out. E Schwartz always gives us $2, $3. Thank you. Myra, thank you. You always give something $5. Eric, foreign. Thank you. We try to connect the dots. Lynn, a repeat customer, always helps us. Thank you. Repeat viewer. Barb, thank you. Danielle, our fearless seer. Indeed. Margaret, $10. Huge. TPM, $1. We'll take it. I mean, everything helps. PJ, I don't know what we did to deserve this, bro. Thank you. $300. I'll feed my children. Danielle will take her girlfriend out for a nice dinner. Barb will use the $2. I'll buy myself a Coke.
Barb gives us money multiple times throughout every stream.
So what we say is this. Look, Danielle, I hope Danielle doesn't mind me saying this, but right before we pressed record, Danielle was like, Waj, you give 2 hours of your life every week to this. We're trying. You could be doing so much more. I wish there was more money, more viewers. If you want to stop, I won't be offended. You could stop. You have other things to do. You have 800 kids. And, look, it's independent. It's tough. We, as Jake Tapper is selling our books, we're trying to figure out, Danielle and I, because I've always said, Danielle should be a superstar. And I'm pretty humble and modest, but I'm like, Danielle and me make a good team. And we should get like this super dope contract to do this podcast. Like, why, But the problem is, I think we're a little too blunt. And so we got to do it independent. And so we've kept everything without paywalls deliberately. It's very intentional. And we keep everything for quote unquote free. So we are literally dependent upon your kindness and your support. If you can, please be a super sharer. That's the super stickers that goes a long way. And if you all don't have the money right now, because I know times are tough, what you can do, and it goes a long way, it sounds so silly, is like the video and then share it, email it, post it on wherever you want. But also ring the bell if you're watching on YouTube right now, or go to Danielle Moodie's YouTube channel and just subscribe. Because Danielle is like at 23.6. We're trying to get her at 25. And there are certain metrics like 25, 30, 35. The algorithm gods like you more, right? And then also we started on Substack. If you just, again, like fools, we've kept it free. No paywalls. You pay what you can. But if you can't pay, and we're super cheap, I think mine's only $5 a month. I think Danielle's is only like $5 or something, right? If you become a free subscriber, that also helps. And then the Substack, the more subscribers you get, even if it's free, subscribe like Substack then elevates you and promotes you more. So please subscribe to Damn Digest, DanielleMoodie.substack.com, thelefthehook.substack.com. It goes a long way. We started in the last couple of weeks doing this midweek check-in on Wednesday on Substack, which is going really popular. So the last two we did 2 weeks ago, Danielle, like our Sinners one, I put it up on YouTube.
I know.
We did a breakdown of Sinners, which you all enjoyed. Then this week we did an audit of Democratic establishment. And then on Wednesday, folks, you all can join us. Everyone's talking about Andor. So we talked about dystopian fiction. And even if you're not into Star Wars, why does everyone talk about Andor, right? Because it talks about the reason why it's seen as one of the most pivotal, important, well-done TV shows of recent history is it takes Star Wars and mythology and marries it to resisting fascism very deliberately at this moment. So I finally convinced Danielle to see Andor. We're going to break down Andor season one next Wednesday. So yeah, there's going to be spoilers, but next Wednesday, no spoilers right now. So watch us on Wednesday where we're going to break down Andor. I promise you might be like, I don't care about Star Wars. Why are you guys watching this?
I don't care about Star Wars.
Just like we did with
making me watch this.
People said the same thing about Sinners. I don't like vampire movies, but you saw parallels and people seem to enjoy why Sinners, through pop culture, sometimes you can do fantastic analysis like Octavia Butler did about what's happening in modern times. So that's my pitch to you. A lot of people said Sinners, and then you watched our breakdown, and then you're like, oh shit, this was really good. So that's my pitch to you for Andor. That's going to be on Wednesday, and we'll be back Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern time.
This weekend, folks, because that's what I'm doing all weekend is binge watching Andor so that I can speak intelligently with my fabulous co-host here, Wajahat Ali. And yes, I will just say briefly, because we went way over time today. I did say to Waj, look, you can make a lot more money doing a lot of other things. We take 2 hours each week, Mondays and Fridays, to do this show. You don't have to keep doing it. I love you and I love talking to you every week, but money, capitalism, you got to feed your kids. And Waj said, nah, we'll keep doing it. We'll figure it out. It's fine. So I'm a
terrible. If you've noticed,
terrible.
I'm a terrible capitalist.
I tried, and I know his parents are watching this, being like, "Take the out, take the out," but he refuses. So we will be back, friends, on Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern, and yes, binge watch Andor with me. You can watch Andor on Disney
Plus. Do a free trial. I'm giving you a hint.
Free trial on Disney Plus. That's where it is, on Disney Plus. So we're not being paid to promote it, trust and believe, but we are going to watch it. I'm going to watch it this weekend, and we're going to talk about it on Wednesday on Substack. Folks, have a good weekend. Take a break. Enjoy your family, your kids, your dogs, your plants. Get outside, do the most. We appreciate
Robert, listen, I won't talk like Yoda, but now that you said that, do or do not. There is no try. All right, that's it. I had to get it. And I thought that was a good Yoda.
Bye, folks.